Hello, I'm Jane Duncan Rogers of Before I Go Solutions, and we help people to make good end-of-life plans. We're doing it today in collaboration with 60andMe, and the topic today is how to choose a funeral director. Well, most people, when they are choosing a funeral director, are doing it under, let's say, pressure because somebody will have just died and that something has to happen to the body. And what we have been trained to do, if you like, and it's the norm in the Western world, is to reach out and find a funeral director. Now, that's not the ideal circumstances under which to choose somebody. But the statistics show that only 14%, 14% of people who are organising a funeral compare one funeral director with another. And actually only less than that, 4%, show that they look for a funeral director on the internet. So we're not getting our act together here, folks. Imagine, you wouldn't dream of choosing a plumber or somebody to come and fit your kitchen in this way. You wouldn't just do it with, a few hours or a few days notice and then ring up somebody or whatever it is that you do. But we do that with a funeral director, and it's because we don't plan in advance. Not a good idea. But of course we don't want to plan in advance because nobody wants to think about the fact that you're going to die at some point, but it is going to happen. It really is going to happen. And it's really sensible and incredibly helpful to those left behind if you've at the very least thought about this beforehand. So specifically, when you're thinking about this in advance, I've got 5 tips for you that will help you to actually take action on this, because that's the main thing that needs to happen, is that more of us are willing to do this kind of stuff in advance and save our families headache, heartache, hassle afterwards. So the first thing, number 1, it really helps to have an attitude of curiosity about this. So it is an unusual thing to do. Most funeral directors will not be expecting someone to ring up and say, I would like to come and meet you. I'm not ill. I just want to meet you because I'm wanting to choose my funeral director in advance. And therefore, I would like to come and find out what it is that you offer and who you are and all that kind of stuff. All the usual stuff that you would do when you're choosing a plumber. You want to all sorts of things that you want to find out, but you need to have this attitude of curiosity with this because this is new, and some people will think that you are completely mad for doing this. So you can make it fun, maybe 2 or 3 of you go together. Maybe you get together with girlfriends and do that, or maybe you get together with your girlfriends and talk about it first of all and then go, because of course you might not always be in the same place. And that's the point, by the way. You can meet people over Zoom these days. So you don't have to be in the location where you think that that you will be dying. And of course, we don't know what that is, do we? Okay, so number 2, you need to do some research about what you would actually want first. Now, this is important because not all funeral directors offer all options. So, for example, if you want a green burial, or if you even want to explore about that, find out about those sorts of things beforehand, because you need to be able to ask the funeral director if that is something that they provide. Probably they'll say yes, but some of them won't know what that is. Like, I recently was the executor for my uncle who died, and he had said he had planned everything in advance, but he didn't want a funeral. He had told me about the funeral director who would do what he wanted, which was a direct cremation. That's a cremation without any service. But when I rang up that funeral director, they had never heard of this before. They didn't know what it was. That didn't impress me, as you can imagine. So I took matters into my own hands and I found an organisation that did know what they were doing. So you need to think this through beforehand, and that would be something that you can do with your girlfriends over a cup of tea or whatever. Then number 3, I know that we don't know when we're going to die, but we have to plan in advance about this, and so we can only do our best. So a really good way to think about this is, if I had died yesterday, what would I want to be happening right now in terms of a funeral director? Because this is about location. So where I am, for example, I would be choosing somebody who is within probably a 10-mile radius or something like that, because I don't want people to have to travel too far. Assuming that everything is fine and they can come and travel. So You need to know that they're not from too far away. You need to narrow your search down in that way. And another tip on that, if you think that you want to be organising it further away from where you are right now, just remember that you can do this on Zoom, like I said before. All things are possible these days. They really are. Okay, number 4, I want you to put on a hat. Here we are, a different hat. I'm a builder hat. Or I'm getting quotes from a builder hat. Whatever it is, put a different hat on and think about this in relationship to price. This is really important. I know that some people think that it's not nice to think about the price of funerals, but it's really important. And in the UK at the moment, funeral directors are having to, by law, put down all the individual prices of the different services that they offer in order to make it clearer for people. Really important. So, in order to be able to do this, you need to be thinking about somebody who's going to employ a plumber or a builder or whatever it is that you feel comfortable with. That requires thinking differently, hence the hat. So, because you need to be able to find out what are they offering and what do they charge, just like you would with any other service person. Okay, and number 5, who actually are you going to choose? Once you've narrowed your search down, who are you going to choose? It's important to remember that the actual person that you meet with might not still be there by the time you die, especially if you're doing this, with, you hope, 20 years or so to go. So the firm that they represent is just as important as the actual person. And that means that if you can go and visit their funeral home, have a look. Sense in as to whether you feel comfortable there. Does it feel right to you? You'll be able to tell just by noticing your bodily reactions. And if you have anything other than a wholehearted yes, then that person won't be for you. So I hope those tips are helpful for you. And let me just finish by saying, how do you feel about doing this? Maybe you can put some comments down below. How do you feel about actually doing this? If you consider this as an idea, maybe the very first time that anyone said anything to you about this being a possibility. And what would be the most important for you in choosing a funeral director? What would be the most important things? Just see what comes up as off the cuff, and pop that down below, and I look forward to seeing you there.